Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Ruby Gill, and I feel honored to welcome you all on the behalf of lovely professional university for taking a keen part in today's webinar entitled as PhD Programs at LPU. So attendees, I'm sure that you all will feel enriched with the knowledge after the completion of today's webinar. So kindly allow me to introduce you all to the experts. It's my privilege to welcome the man of distinct vision and fountainhead of illuminating ideas, Dr. Laviraj Gupta, Pro Vice Chancellor, Lovely Professional University. He holds a PhD in bioinformatics. He did his MTech in computer-aided design and interactive graphics from IIT Kanpur. Having flair for endless learning, he has done more than 50 plus certifications and specializations from University of California at Irvine, Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania, Deep Learning AI, and Google Machine Learning Group. In talking about his accolades and laurels, in 2001, he has appointed as Assistant Controller Technology, Ministry of IT, Government of India by the Honorable President of India in the Office of Controller of Certifying Authorities. In 2013, he was accorded the role in the National Advisory Board for What Can I Give mission, Kalam Foundation of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. In 2011, he received the MIT Technology Review Grand Challenge Award, followed by the coveted Infosys Infi Makers Award in the year 2016. Recently, he collaborated with Stanford University for a research project. He has also been nominated as the chairman to ASSOCHAM North Region Council for Innovation. He has authored 7 books on IoT, mobile robotic platforms, biomedical sensor, and machine learning and data analytics. To his credit, he has won 50 plus patents. So, sir, it's a privilege to have you on board with us today. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Ms. Ruby. Thank you. Thank you so very much.
I humbly welcome the profound personality and one of the prominent and most celebrated dignitary, Dr. Sanjay Modi, Pro Vice Chancellor, Lovely Professional University. He is an honors graduate in arts, an MBA and a doctorate in the domain of industrial relations. From past 27 years, he has been engaged in teaching and practice of management. He started his professional career in the industry where he worked for 3 years in the field of marketing, and thereafter he took over as the founder director of Lovely Institute of Management. He has a very rich profile, having numerous research publications to his credit which are of national repute, and has been guiding doctoral research in the domains of trade unionism, child labor, ethics, corporate governance, work-life balance, employee engagement, and talent management. So, sir, thank you so much for giving your valuable time to us. Additionally, I consider it a great honor to welcome the epitome of wisdom and intellect, Dr. Monica Gulati, Executive Dean, School of Pharmaceutical Sciences and Registrar, Lovely Professional University. She has been very instrumental in research when it comes to education. Having completed her B Pharmacy and PhD from UIPS, Punjab University, Chandigarh, Dr. Gulati have more than 25 years of teaching, industry, research, and administrative experience. Her research forte is enhancing bioperformance of drug molecules, phytochemicals and probiotics, metabiotics, and other therapeutics using conventional and novel dosage forms, especially in the area of clone targeting. She holds a keen interest in the quality control parameters of delivery systems. She has, to her credit, more than 150 high-impact publications and 50 invited book chapters. She has been granted 4 Indian patents and 3 Australian patents as well. And she is on the editorial and review board of more than 25 journals. So ma'am, it's a privilege to have you with us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ruby.
Furthermore, I would like to welcome our admission expert, Ms. Megha Singh, Assistant Professor, Lovely Professional University. Her expertise lies in human resource management, and currently she is involved in research related to social cause. And today she'll take up the eligibility fee scholarship, which I'm sure will make you save a lot of money. And in addition to that, she'll also give you an insight about the infrastructure part of the university. So thank you, ma'am, for joining.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. So with this, we'll begin our today's webinar. So I welcome you all once again to the webinar and hope that you all will have a great interaction with the experts. So over to you, Dr. Laviraj Gupta, sir, for the content of the day.
Kindly let me share my screen, please. Give
Yes.
me the rights. Thank you so much. Let me just begin. So once again, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Ruby, for the kind words which you spoke about. See, coming 15 to 20 minutes, I'll talk about the doctrine, the tenet, or the percept of research. I'm primarily going to build the foundation on which my colleagues, Dr. Modi and Dr. Monica, would build the uh, the fundamentals and the basic expectations. But my role would be to introduce you to the what, why, and how of research. Let us begin. Let us actually talk about what exactly is research. Very well said by Georgie that research is to see what everybody else has seen and to think what nobody else has thought. This phrase is very deep rooted. I call these kind of phrases as inch wide, but they are mile deep. Basically, anything which you're seeing is seen by everybody else. But by that observation, what do you think which others primarily cannot reach out to, primarily cannot think about, is the basic percept of research. I'll give you an example. See, there were a whole lot of deliberations, debates, dialogues, and discussions which were happening. Past 3 decades or 4 decades, when humans they explored the space, there were a lot of discussions and deliberations which were happening that we need to use and reuse the rockets. The propulsion system, which is backed up by rockets of any spacecraft or any vehicle, satellite launching vehicles or something like that, we people all across the globe were talking about that we need to have reusable rockets. But then a company came up. They looked to what people are perceiving, but they actually then thought of doing it, and then they curated and crafted the reusable rockets. The way or the path in between the people talking and looking to the possibilities of having reusable rockets and creating reusable rockets, the path in between or the way in between or the bridge in between is termed as research. I'll give you a better example on this, which is more closer to the present happening. See, people were thinking about that while people were seeing that people are becoming vulnerable to the corona infections once they were removing their masks when they intend to sip maybe a juice or a cafe latte or coffee or something like that. So somebody went beyond just the vision, went beyond what people are trying to see or what people are thinking. They thought what nobody else has thought about it, And plain and simple, very, very simple, what they did is they created a solution, a solution which reduces the vulnerability to an extent and would let an individual enjoy the sip of cafe latte or sip of juice without any harm being happening to them. Now, this process primarily is research. When you intend to begin in research, the first and the foremost thing which is expected out of you is you define a problem statement. Do not always try to look to rocket science. I will profess here, I will beseech you, I'll request you that please do not try to look to some kind of, some kind of less meaningful or less oriented research. Look to problem statements which are societal, which are going to benefit the entire ecosystem. Then out of this, form an hypothesis. For this hypothesis, because this would become the credo, this would become the primary goal of your research out of the problems. I'll give you an example that if I have identified a problem in a particular thing, and then I'll form my own hypothesis that this is going to work like this. If I have said that this is going to work like this watch or maybe this particular car is going to drive like this, or it can reach to from 0 to 100 in this particular seconds of time, based on the hypothesis, you start making observations, you test your hypothesis by creating and curating experiments around it. Once you do the experiment and make observations, then you organize and analyze the data. If the data reveals that your hypothesis goes right, then move on further, draw conclusions, and then communicate the results so that the world comes to know that you identified this problem, you curated or you formulated this hypothesis based on these experiments and observations, and this data analysis, you have concluded the work. But then in between, there'll be a point which is going to come that your hypothesis, you might have considered that this tree is going to grow like this. The tree didn't grew like this based on your measurement of the tree or making the observations or creating a chart of the growth of that tree. You presume that it is going to grow like this and it grew like this. If the hypothesis this doesn't prove worthy, go back, change the experiments, and then do this entire process again and again. Now, you might think that this is a very intricate kind of thing, but the moment you identify the problem statement, which is very close to your heart and which is actually going to result in some meaningful kind of, conclusions, everything would become a cakewalk. So the most prominent and most important what of research is how do you identify a problem statement? I'll give you a rider that you look to sustainable development goals defined by UN. Each and every discipline, be you belonging to finance or you belong to electronics engineering, you belong to pharmacy, you belong to physiotherapy, you belong to education, each and every sustainable development goal can be included in your discipline. And you can start identifying things. Look into why basically people do research, what we have already talked about. See, any kind of research is nothing but a systematic analysis rather than actually picking one apple from this basket, one apple from this basket. It is a systematic, picking up of the apples and putting them into great kind of observations. Out of these systematic analysis and observations, you are going to build predictions, theories, and principles by which you can improve the practice. I'll give you an example. Say, for example, you're doing research in the societal development of maybe a village. You do a lot of analysis that what presently is happening in that village, what kind of betterments can be brought in to that village. You predict that if I implement this particular practice in that village, it is actually going to change the way the people are living there in that village. Thus, you are improving the practices. It develops new understanding. Whatsoever you're going to do out of your problem statement identification, hypothesis building, and then doing the research experiments, doing the analysis, and then if the hypothesis is not proven right, you are going back to the iterations into the process. You're developing, helping in initiating the actions. You can propose to the government. I was talking about the village example. You can propose to the government that this some small little things they've done in this village would completely change the way people live in that village. It helps in decision making, and the most important thing which it does is it solves the societal enigma. I'm always in favor of identification of a problem which finally results in solving, in mending this skirmish which the society is facing. And that can be near to your house, that can be in your house as well. So I'll come to that a little later. I'll give you an example of this why that there are set of people who talk about cribbing of jams happening, and this was way back. I'm talking about that people were talking about that because of uncivic kind of driving sense of people, jams were happening. So somebody identified an opportunity in that challenge and then created a solution. See how ease is implemented into one of the most commonly happening challenges all across the globe by just creating a red light. Now, it didn't end it there. What is happening is that you never know as a driver that when this red light is actually going to get converted to green or yellow or something like that. So people came up with a better kind of solution, and they created a timer along with the red light. How ease is now being brought into, how an enigma, how a problem is being solved or mitigated at any given point of time. And you know what is happening in the latest research is that this particular timer and this particular red light is being or is being made intelligent so that it identifies the traffic density coming to this red light in a particular hour of the day, in the particular day of the week, and in the days of a particular month. And it is intelligent enough that based on the past history of density of the traffic, the light itself train itself that if the traffic density is less, it is actually having less timer, and if the traffic density is more, based on the traffic density, it is changing its own timings. So from one form of challenge to another form of opportunity, from one form of opportunity to another form of opportunity, and from one form of opportunity, you are extracting more meaningful opportunities put together. This is the why of research. How, meaning thereby, there are two forms of research. My colleagues are going to talk about quite a more qualitative research and quantitative research. As the name goes by, the qualitative research primarily looks into the quality. It can be historical, it can be narrative, it can be phenomenal, it can be grounded theory or a case study. You can do the content analysis in this. But in quantitative, you're going to establish experiments. It can be single subject, which is completely not the forte as of today. I'm going to talk about it quite a lot. You need to actually move on to interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary kind of an approach. It can be a survey. You can do a correlation. You can you can visualize whether two parameters, whether the temperature of the institute or temperature in the area of the institute is correlated with the grades of the student, which is happening or not. Now that's another form of research. Now in this how, one very important thing, or you as researchers would basically now move on to a different era, move on to a different form, move on to a different meteoric tenet of research. Earlier, people were doing discipline-oriented research. Everything was in silos, that a psychology-oriented individual was working about the psychology of a group of people only. Then came the multidisciplinary research, so that a psychologist is also looking to their, philosophical kind of thing. Then came the interdisciplinary, and the participation of two disciplines is now more immersive. And now, today, what you are going to embark on the journey is of transdisciplinary research, wherein you combine various disciplines together. So say for example, you're going to do research in English as a language. Now you can include technology, you can include natural language processing, you can use artificial intelligence and machine learning, you can use lambda. You might have heard this word very recently, when a company's employer came out with something which was not agreeable to be disclosed by the company. A classified information was disclosed about lambda. Now, this lambda is a perfect confluence of a transdisciplinary research. The language experts, the computational experts, the mathematical experts, the psychological experts, the philosophical experts, and finally, the deployment experts. They came together for these kind of things. To make you understand a little more about the transdisciplinary approaches, that disciplinary approach, you put banana in one basket, oranges in another basket, and apples in another basket. You do it this way. But in multidisciplinary, what you do is, they are separable. They are completely separable. You create a palette of various fruits cut together, and in interdisciplinary, you make them more blended and create a salad, a fruit salad. But in transdisciplinary approach, you completely blend them together to form a uh, inseparable kind of join between the disciplines. I'll give you an example. Now see, this particular snippet, say, depicts a picture of a whale, a snip of a whale being brought into a classroom. Now, this is an example of a transdisciplinary research wherein people from various disciplines. Do you think that this can only happen by the expertise of people belonging to computer science or augmented reality or virtual reality? No, there's a perfect combination of marinologist, zoologist, whale experts, fluid mechanics expert, mechanical people, and then all of them are blended together to form a solution like this. I'll give you another example on this. We all know that this sport is now much talked about in our country, and it has a reason to be talked about. If you think that only the practice and the skill of an individual might have taken an individual to the pinnacle, to the heights of it, then that is not true. The skill, the practice, and the you know lot of hard work put in by an individual is to be supported by technology. All his practices were captured through a camera, and lot of biomechanics experts, they came into picture, and then they modified that for this particular angle, for this particular step length, for this particular pull distance, for this particular release height. If you do it this way, then only you'll be able to win the gold medal. There are two takeaways out of this particular slide. One is, try to move on, not try, emphasize or be sure that you do work in a transdisciplinary domain. You might belong to a specific domain or a discipline, but try to reach out to various other disciplines and bring that flavor. Then only you'll be able to succeed in your research. The second very important takeaway is that your research, all the research which these people have done upon the hard work put in by an individual, has resulted in something which is tangible, which is visible, and which has actually escalated the society, escalated the confidence of individual, and has brought in India as a country to the limelight. I'll give you a thought on this. If I show you a slide like this, and if I ask you that what do you see on the screen, I know that 95 to 97% of you will say that there's a black dot on the screen. Do away with this, because I'm talking about how of the research. Whenever you are identifying a problem statement, whenever you are finalizing on your hypothesis, or even when you are establishing experiments and capturing the data or analyzing the data, do not look to just 4%, or do not look to just what is run for the mill visible to you. Because in this slide, 4% is the focus which is captured by the slide, and you are not looking to 96% of it, because this 96% would have all the creativity, would have all the significance, will have all the thoughtfulness, and would have all the future. So you'll have to have a bigger picture of whatsoever you're talking about. I talked about that you need to observe things around you in order to identify a domain, in order to identify a theme of your research. So by an observation, you define your domain, which can be a multidisciplinary or transdisciplinary domain, and then you define the theme of your work, and then finally you define a problem statement by identifying the research gaps in between. The crux of the research is basically this, that do not assign yourself wider targets. If there are wider targets to happen, if there are wider activities or actions to be happen, segmentize, split, and lemonize these wider targets into small little tasks, and do every task which is which is going to actually lead you to succeed in your research. The basic crux of research is this, that you have a long distance goal, then you segmentize it into some shorter spans, and then you segmentize a shorter span into further sliced, smaller, little smaller attainable points. This is what is from my side, and I welcome you to this world of wonderful research. My colleagues would throw more light on it. I welcome you to the wonderful, wonderful doctrine and dogma of research. I wish you all the very best, and we will let you think big when you're there at LPU doing your research. This is from my side, Miss Ruby.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your vision among the attendees. And now I would request Dr. Sanjay Modi, sir, to kindly enlighten the attendees about why they have to choose LPU. Dr. Sanjay, sir, over to you.
Hello. Yes. All right. How many people? Good afternoon, everyone. How many participants do we have?
So we have more than 80 participants.
80 participants. All right. And they are across all sections, all disciplines, right?
Yes, sir.
So I think Dr. Laviraj has covered the most crucial ground. So I'll speak about why LPU, right?
Yes.
Okay. Most of the essence of why LPU. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, sir, you are.
The essence of why LPU, I think you would have got largely from what and how Dr. Laviraj spoke about research. And what he spoke about is not actually mere theory or mere preaching. It is something which is being practiced in LPU. Let me start by making, if I have to use just one sentence of why LPU should be the first choice, I would say because of the research rigor. because of the research rigor. And with this, I mean that right from selection of the topic to the final submission, throughout, there's so much of rigor that you will be proud of what you have been able to achieve through research personally. You'll be proud of what you have been able to contribute to the discipline, and you'll be proud of what you've done throughout your academic life. Because PhD is one-time kind of an academic exploration, which can either make your career or even mar your career. Why I'm saying this is, LPU is a very large institution, and every day we conduct interviews. I think by this time I would have conducted few thousand interviews. Now the challenge when I see people, the first challenge which appears is the topic is not right. If the topic is right, the research methodology is not right. And if the research methodology is not right, how can you be assured? How can you be sure about the credibility of the research findings? Now, to give you a brief detail of what I mean by this, we make sure that the student himself, a lot of people say, I'll give you a practical instance. I think yesterday I was talking to a student. I think he was from the discipline of sociology. So I don't remember his topic, but what he had done was, he said, sir, my PhD study is qualitative. I said, fine. I just happened to ask him, I said, what was your sample size? He said, sir, 200. I said, tell me, with 200 sample size, did you not use any statistical method? Did you not tabulate your data and use some statistical method for data analysis? He said, no, sir. I said, but how can you remember 200 responses if you have to write a qualitative description of the responses of 200 respondents? How will you write it? It is humanly impossible to do unless you use some statistical tools, or their qualitative research tools also. There's software is available which analyze the qualitative content also. But he had done nothing of that sort. So I said, why did you not do it? The answer was, sir, my guide said this is okay. Now I said, you should have used your own mind. Now these are the kind of situations which we face daily, because the guides, constraint becomes the constraint of the PhD scholar. Now, how you overcome this in LPU? Number one, I think the first thing what LPU does is it empowers the student himself or herself to make sure that one is thorough with the research methodology. So if you look at our curriculum, the coursework which you have to go through after registering for PhD is very rigorous. It focuses on qualitative research, it focuses on quantitative research. We'll make sure your attendance is mandatory, we'll make sure you are tested, and we make sure you understand that. So that is the first stage. We make sure that the student becomes very confident about research methods. But still, okay, one can always say, sir, during coursework, maybe it doesn't give you full hands-on exposure. Granted. Now, next stage. Even when the topics are selected, we make sure that as a matter of policy, we would like to choose topics which have contemporary social or industry relevance. They should be relevant somewhere. They should be solving some social problem. They should be, researching some policy issue. They should be going into the society to do a empirical research based on field work, where you find out the choices, the preferences, the opinions of people regarding certain issues. That has to be done. And irrespective of the discipline, it makes a lot of sense to get into quantitative research. So we make sure that the topics which one chooses are relevant to the needs. Either it should enrich the society in some way by solving its problem. Because if you look at the West, the major strength of the Western university institutions is, of higher learning particularly, is that they focus their research on the challenges of the community around them. It could be physical, it could be health related, it could be agriculture related, it could be management related, any kind of problems. So we also try that some practical issues are chosen, or it should be if it is fundamental research, it should enrich the discipline. So we make sure a lot of focus. And how we bring in this focus is that when the first of all, the guide is kind of instructed, advised that this is how you should choose you should guide the student to choose his or her topic, number one. Number two, when the state-of-the-art seminar happens, there is such a rigorous scrutiny by the panel which is present there. They will look at your topic. If it is not appropriate, they will challenge the topic. They will advise you to modify the topic. And if completely not acceptable, they will ask you to change the topic. It might sound a little harsh at times, but then this is what brings rigor. So there is very little possibility. And then what happens is, subsequently, after the state of the art is given, then the student is supposed to submit a action taken report, which says, okay, these were the 5 suggestions or 7 suggestions which were given by the panel, and this is what I have done. And he has to attach a proof that this is, if there was objectives were not right, he will modify the objectives and submit them again. If certain literature review was deficient, he would extend the literature review, right? If the research methodology was not appropriate, he will say that, all right, these are the amendments which I have made in my research methodology. It is not necessary that all suggestions of the panel have to be carried. If you think they are not valid, or you have a very specific challenge as a researcher to implement that, or your guide believes there are certain other issues, then you need to explain that and say, okay, this could not be done or cannot be done because of this reason. And if the reason is genuine, it is accepted. Then subsequently, in the annual seminars, once again, whatever work has been done is very closely scrutinized. Is it in the right direction? I'm sorry I'm making this comment, but if you go to some traditional universities, you would find there are hardly any people who take interest in the annual presentations. It's a ritual, it's a formality which the student goes through, and hence there is no value addition. There is no course correction. Nobody is there to say, because it is possible that the guide has one perspective, the student has one perspective. Now, when there are 4 good, well-meaning faculty members, senior faculty are sitting, they would give a different perspective. And in case they all agree that this perspective is right, then this needs to be incorporated. This is to the benefit of the students. And let me also confess that at times the researchers might feel a little bad about it. It is not, friends, please trust me, it is not harassment. It is sheer effort to improve the academic standards, improve the research standards for the researcher, because this is his treasure for life. This PhD work is a treasure for life. This is what will help him to get a job. This will what is something which he will take pride in throughout his life, as I said. People, when you appear for interviews, what people will look at, they will ask you questions mostly related to your research. So if you're not able to justify, and if you don't give the right impression there about the rigor of research, the thoroughness, the appropriateness of the research methodology, the direction of the research, the way you've created the hypothesis, then you are likely to get into trouble. So LPU might look to be tough, but it will make you tough. It is tough because we want you to be tough. We want you to be successful. We want you to be rigorous. We want you to, because we start a virtuous cycle. You see, what happens is, in case, I hope you can still hear me. There's something in my computer which I have seen. Am I audible? Hello?
Sir, you are. Yes, sir.
Okay. I think there was something appearing on my screen. Anyway, So, if you are not able to equip yourself very well, and people say, how did you choose this research methodology? Why did you not apply this, statistical tool for data analysis? You should be very confident to say that, sir, this is what it is. And we make sure that all the good, research methods are applied. In terms of social sciences, I'm saying your sampling method is right. The kind of statistical methods that you choose are right. For example, let me tell you some very fundamental thing. People have done research. I asked every one of them, I said, please explain, can you tell me what is validity? Or when you prepared your questionnaire, did you validate your questionnaire? 70–80% of them have not heard of validity. They said, I prepared my questionnaire, my guide said, yes, it is right, and I went ahead. It is not right. It puts a question mark on your entire research if your questionnaire, the tool that you create, is not validated. If your sampling method is not right. If the methods that you have adopted, somebody says, I have tried to find the impact of one thing on the other. And I said, what research method you applied? He says, sir, correlation. I said, if you have to find the impact of one variable on the other, then you should have used regression analysis. No, sir, my guide said this is okay. I would say, I don't know. Now, these are the pitfalls which normally I find people from very large number of universities, they commit these kind of very, very serious mistakes. But trust me, in LPU, you might get complaints from students saying, sir, the panel has given me too many suggestions. At times it happens, but they are for your good, trust me. So please, join institutions which will focus on the rigor, which will ensure rigor in your research. Don't get into institutions which are very easy on your PhD and make a mess of your 3–4 years of effort, which neither you can publish anywhere, nor somebody will appreciate your research, nor will you pass on good values to others. You see, people who have done research in LPU, they take pride wherever they go and start working. They say, sir, we are at a premium. Everybody asks us about research methods. Where have you done your PhD? Your question was very good. Your research is very rigorous. And they come and consult us on research methods. That is what gives you pride for life, right? And further than that, not only does the panel, help you, but apart from the coursework, there are very frequent advanced workshops which keep on happening on research methods. Quantitative research methods, qualitative research method, how you use different software, qualitative software, quantitative software, and the latest ones, absolutely latest ones. Now they are taught, and you can join your, these workshops on research method. They are taken by, and people from even foreign countries abroad attend LPU research workshop. From all over the country, from very good institutions, people come and attend the workshops on research methods. Why? Because of the rigor. It's hands-on, completely hands-on, very rigorous. It is tested. Even in the workshops, we make sure people understand. So this is the seriousness for which LPU is known. And then finally, another element of rigor is you will make sure that you publish. The expectation would be you publish your papers in Scopus Index journals, not the normal journals. So for that, you have to work very hard. Difficult, yes, surely. But then no good things come easy. No good things come easy. Building an exemplary or an extraordinary career takes effort, takes engagement, takes hard work. And that is what LPU tries to ensure. We are wanting to raise the standard of education and research in the country so that you as researchers don't make a mark only in your institution, but you yourself can be a medium for, spreading a word about, spreading the movement for good academics and good research. Because if you are a good researcher, you are a good academician also. You can be trusted. Once you get into the habit of working hard and looking at the details, making sure everything is right, that improves you for life. And then you start a virtuous cycle. When you have learned good research methodology, you will make sure the students who do research with you, they do a good job with their research. Yesterday, I was talking to a faculty of a language faculty. He's been with LPU for 10 years. He did his, I think undergraduate, I'm not sure, but he did his post-graduation and PhD from LPU. And I asked him yesterday, I said, how many PhDs have you guided? He's already guided, I think, about 8 to 10 PhDs. 8 PhDs, I think he said he has guided, and another 4 or 5 are still registered, and he says another 2 are in the pipeline for submission. And I asked him, what is your age? He says, sir, only 35. I said, by the time you retire, you would have guided 40, 50, PhD scholars. And his scholars are very happy, very happy. The quality of guidance is very good. And he is always thankful to LPU for, for what he is in terms of academics and research. So this is the advantage of joining a good institution. So I'm sorry if I might have kind of in some way frightened you with the kind of words I've been using, rigor, but that, trust me, you will enjoy it. It is a sheer pleasure to learn so many things and so fast. Very few institutions in the country would provide you with that kind of rigor. And we make sure, now even for the evaluation, we make sure the PhD theses are sent to very good scholars, not to the ones who are very convenient, my friends or somebody. We will send it to IITs, IIMs, and depending on the discipline, we'll send it to the best of the, evaluators, examiners, so that they give honest opinion about it. And at times, I think in last couple of months, there was a case where out of 3 examiners, 2 examiners recommended and 1 examiner perhaps did not. He suggested certain changes. So the student, the case came to me and I said the changes which were asked were valid. The student was supposed to make changes and we insisted on that. And the student did make change and was happy about the improvement that it resulted in. That is how, rigor comes in. That is how excellence gets developed. And it is not only for our sake, because research is not for your sake or my sake only. We owe it to the nation. We owe it to the entire academic world that we contribute, we create, we groom good academicians, good researchers who can, raise the level of academic and research in the world. I think this is our moral obligation. This is a professional obligation we must fulfill. So it is for these reasons that I would always recommend, and I'm so confident and proud that we have been able to uphold those very high standards of research and academics, and that's the reason why LPU has grown. And the kind of students we attract from all across the country, which even very good institutions don't. And that's primarily because of this rigor. I'm sure it will make sense to all of you, and you will take the right decision. Thank you very much. If there are any questions or something. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing the words of wisdom with our attendees. Yes, sir, we have a few queries, but before that, sir, I would like to request Dr. Monica Gulati, ma'am, to please take over and discuss about the patents, publications, and expectations from PhD. So, yes, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Beta, please give me the presentation rights.
Yes, please give me a moment.
So good afternoon, audience. As you've already learned, the finer nuances of research and PhD advantages and disadvantages and everything, and then the culture which is existing at LPU. Let me share with you in brief about what is expected from a PhD degree, and this will not be limited to the patents and publications. So we'll be expecting much more, and we'll be guiding you how to go about the things. So first thing is, why should you strive for enhancing your resume? Why should you strive to get the maximum out of a thesis? Why should you strive to get the maximum out of a PhD work? So you see, one of the most important thing is, after we complete our PhD, or after, at times many of us are doing the PhD while working already in an institute. So we are either applying for jobs after that, or we are applying for the promotions after that, because of claiming that we are now expert in research also, or we have researched on a particular topic which is very, very relevant to the academic inputs which are to be given. So looking at these ads, this is an ad which I took from the, as you can see, from the website of a very prestigious institute. What are they going to look for when they are going to give you a job? They are going to look at your research career. How many publications can you see? At least 15 publications, Scopus indexed. And then how many PhDs are awarded, how many R&D projects are there. So it is going to help you, if you strive to enhance your resume, you are going to increase your chances of getting good jobs or getting promotions. Then, as academicians, we are always looking for enhancing our qualification, enhancing our exposure, and then via media of doing that is, applying for fellowships, national as well as international fellowships. So in this, you see, when we talk of very prestigious fellowships, again, they're going to ask you for publications in reputed journals. So you are expected to upload a recent significant publication on the online application and so on, right? Then applying for awards. These are the, this is, one of the very prestigious Bhatnagar Award, for which, they are again asking for how many publications are there. Being very quick. This is a very interesting story. There were two faculty members in a neighboring university, the Guru Angad Dev University of Veterinary Sciences. During the COVID times, they were trying to teach their children well. So for that, they prepared certain diagrams and then certain flow charts, which were found to be very, very useful by the children. And they thought, why not, publish it? So they published this entire work in a journal, and then they were contacted by an edutech company who proposed a good handsome amount to them for transferring the copyrights of this. Then here is another very interesting incident. As you can say, this young lady who is performing an experiment, you would be wondering, what is she trying to do? She is an avid researcher. She is from pharmacy background. So, she was a very proficient writer also. So she used to publish her papers quite frequently, and she had a very huge fan following of her scientific acumen. So, she was shortlisted among the finalists of the Miss America. And what happened, she put it on the social media that, I am a scientist, but somehow, I reached this stage, but I know I will be out in the performance round, which is a final round of most of the beauty contests, because I don't know either to sing or to dance, and the performance round expects you to do either of these two. So one of a researcher who was following her papers, he suggested, why not, it is a performance round, so why not perform an experiment on the Miss America stage. She did it, and then she won it. So why should we, this is what we've learned now, it increases your resume, it increases your career, it enhances your career, it increases your credibility, and of course then, you know, you will live a good life. So what kind of efforts can we make? I'll be again very quick. I think we are left with just 5 minutes. One scenario, you know, when you enroll for a PhD degree, you'll get a PhD degree and then you move on. Second scenario is along with that PhD degree, you get few review articles, you get a few research papers, you get a few patents, you get a few copyrights. Now tell me, what will you prefer, scenario 1 or scenario 2? So how to go about it? First, I'll be very quick. When you're going to publish a paper, how would you select it? So you see, the first red signal that you will get is there would be a fake call for paper emails. You know, generally you will not get many emails inviting for papers. If you do, you will have to look at the content. I'll show you, you know, one of the genuine ones and one of the fraud ones. My own, you know, my own mail. Then you will keep on getting. This is what I'm saying. Unsolicited emails from publishers. They'll, you know, they'll convert it into a complete book and they'll ask you for a few $100s. And in the end, you know, when you get that book published and put it in your CV, the person looking at your CV will tell you that this is, you know, a fake or a very low key kind of publisher. It will have a negative impact on your CV. So these scope of the journal would be too wide. It would not be indexed in Scopus. There would be no paid, but in the mail, they will never write how much money is required for the APCs. And then they'll give you a promise that it will be published within 4 to 6 weeks. And then, you know, that is very tempting for somebody who's about to submit the PhD thesis and requires the papers very, very quickly. This is one example. See, this is a fake journal which is sending me the invitation. You can see, look at the scope. All research, review, short communications, case reports, area of maternal and pediatric nutrition, pediatric, parental, maternal stress, pediatric nutrition, this, all this, and then article will be processed and published as early as possible. So then they are going to pressurize you to, you know, contact them as early as possible. Now look at the genuine one. They would say, this is the website. Look at the previous one. They are not sharing the website. They would never share the website. If they do, they will never put the APC charges on the website. Right? So this is the median time from submission to the first decision. What does that mean? First decision means, well, whether it is going to be reviewed or rejected right on the editorial desk. So that will take 14 days. Vis-a-vis, look at this, as early as possible, right? Then they are giving you the submission deadline. What are these people saying? Let me know before 31st if you are interested. There is no deadline here. So there is a submission deadline, and then see how clear they are about the APC charges. So everything is crystal clear. So try to be, you know, this is a red signal. Try to be beware of such invitations. Do not fall prey to this. So this was from my side. If there are any questions, I'll be very, very happy to answer.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your vision. It was indeed very informative presentation for our attendees. And yes, ma'am, sir, we have few queries from our attendees. So with your permission, can we take up those queries?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So there is a student named Ritika Rai Malani. She wants to seek their advice from our experts that is it beneficial to go for part-time PhD at LPU rather than other universities?
I would say yes. Part-time from LPU and full-time from any other university is better because our rigor remains the same whether you do full-time or part-time. Of course, rest of it will depend on the kind of effort that you make. Please don't leave it to the guide. You know, if you don't consult the guide, there have been cases, whoever is asking this question, there have been cases where the guide is not approached. So there is no telepathy today like Lord Krishna that you will get the telepathy from the guide. You know, please make sure you are able to talk to the guide, number one. Number two, make sure you are able to work as per directions of the guide. Three, please make sure that at times, you know, it is research. It is not that everything is final at one go. You know, today as guide, I would have one idea, I said, try to do this. And then I have another idea. I think looking at what you've done, I think we can also do this. Or can we, you know, do a little better method? Because I'm also learning, the student is also learning. So I think any day from joining depends on the quality of the other choice that you have. If it is not as good institution, I think I would recommend even part-time from LPU is very good if the student is willing to work very hard.
Thank you so much, sir. So there is another question from Shafia. She wants to know about regarding the MOU. That what are the procedures to get MOU signed between the university and the institute where they want to carry out their research. So do they require any kind of MOU?
Not clear.
So I'll repeat the question again. So there is a query from Shafia. She wants to do research from some other institution. So she is asking that do we require a certain kind of MOU between the institutes or between the universities to do research over there if the student is from LPU?
No.
I would like to pitch in here. Ruby, I think we can answer her. It is all right. You know, we would be happy to go ahead with an MOU also if we feel that, you know, further opportunities are also there. But if it is an isolated kind of case and a small amount of work needs to be done, then it could be done at the levels of, you know, the supervisors, and of course with the consent of their heads. So if it is a small kind of collaboration which is required, it could be done at the level of the, of course, you know, both the supervisors from this institute and that institute, they would know the procedures to be followed, but MOU as such per se is not a requirement. If it is a longish kind of thing, it would be good to sign an MOU, right?
I'll add to what Dr. Gulati and Dr. Gulati has mentioned, that if the individual or the scholar wish to do a PhD in joint collaboration with maybe good labs like CSIO or CSIR or any such kind of labs, we have MOUs with certain labs as well, and there's no binding. We can go ahead and do the MOUs as well.
And another dimension is that as per the national education policy, it is Government of India is already promoting free collaboration in the sense that they're encouraging students, the institutions to allow others. So in case any assistance is required, I think LPU can provide that assistance in case there is, you know, some kind of recommendation required. I don't think that should be a challenge.
Thank you so much, sir. So we'll take up another query from Aroma. She wants to know that she has completed MSc Geology and want to do PhD in Geospatial Information Science and Technology. And the eligibility criteria on the website is ME MTech, but she is MSc Geology. So is there any way out that she can proceed with the PhD, or she has to do MTech first?
What she's talking about is a very specialized field, is a very specialized field. So what I would propose is that it's always better to first actually look to the, she knows about this scientific form of geology, but she needs to understand the technical aspects of geology, and for that she needs to upgrade her qualifications, because when she's working in geomatic information systems or geospatial information systems, that's a little engineering or technology oriented.
So thank you so much, sir.
Can she do PhD from us? That's the question.
Yeah. In geology, with blending of, as I said, transdisciplinary approach, she can always go ahead.
Because I can also add that we have a collaboration with the what you call is the Punjab Remote Sensing Institute in Ludhiana. I think if I understand this correctly, and they have all that data which is available, satellite data, and if that could help, you see, eligibility will need to be ascertained by the admissions, but I think the feasibility of doing PhD is definitely there.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for solving the query. And sir, we'll take up another query from Zafar. The query is that in case during the PhD, the person wants to change the synopsis. So is it possible to change the synopsis or the title during the PhD coursework or after the coursework?
Yeah, for this, obviously, if some considerable time has already elapsed, then there would be a presentation again. He or she, the scholar, has to give the reasons give very strong and very logical and very convincing reasons to make the changes. And then, if everything is quite convincing, it can be done.
I think there should be no problem. I think till the very last, objectives and topics, if it needs some minor tweaking, can be done. But it should not change the basic scope of the study. Because if that is so, then, it has to be done all over again.
Thank you so much, sir. So we'll take up last but not the least question from Arjun Singh. He wants to know about the infrastructure and characterization labs available for life science students.
Madam Monica, you can talk about it. We've got wonderful facilities. They start from powder XRD to lot of SEMs and all are available. Do not bother about it. We've got one of the best facilities available in the vicinity. Nobody has those kind of facilities.
Dr. Monica, ma'am, you want to add something to this?
So, as far as life sciences are concerned, one thing is we have a CPC-SCA approved animal house. We have an NMPB registered herbal garden. And apart from that, for analysis purpose, we have almost all the high-end equipments, including, as Dr. Laviraj said, the electron microscope also. We have the facility of SEM also with us. And otherwise, let me share with you, as far as the life sciences are concerned, despite having such a short history, we have biotech, we have pharmacy, we have microbiology, biochemistry, and botany, zoology, everything. And we are amongst the top institutes of India as far as research in life sciences is concerned. So I don't think there should be any, kind of even doubt in the minds as far as the infrastructure or the guidance capability of the faculty are concerned.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, experts, for resolving all the queries of our attendees. And now we'll quickly move to our admission expert, Ms. Megha Singh. Over to you, ma'am, for the admission part of the university.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, all these esteemed panel members. Already, I guess all the panel members have already spoken about the infrastructure, but quickly I will just take you through the infrastructure and the facilities that we are providing to all the incoming candidates, students. This is just a glimpse that I would like to share with all the attendees that, apart from the academics, we are also We are having students who are, preparing themselves for all genres, be it sports, be it academics. This is just the recent, I would say accolade that the university has, achieved, in which our students have, they've got the runners-up trophy at the Khelo India University Games. Coming back to the rankings, these are, as the esteemed panel members have already discussed, that we are the topmost university in India. These are some of the rankings which proves us, and it believes, it makes us believe that yes, we are actually in a, one of the organizations which is at the top. It's at the pinnacle. Coming back to the various kinds of exposures, visitors that we are providing to our candidates, to our students, from CEOs to the presidents, to the prime ministers, to the celebrities, all kinds of exposures, visitors, they are coming and continuously interacting with our students. Talking about the entrepreneurship school, the startup school, all these facilities are here for our students. Best of the best infrastructure facilities, whether it is concerning with academics, whether it is concerned with the, the research activities, all are provided in our university. This is just a glimpse of the amphitheater that we have. This is a glimpse of one of the auditoriums, which is having a capacity of more than 3,500 individuals, and all kinds of domestic and international events of repute. They take place over here. This is our, Uni Center, Uni Mall. This is our storied, multi-storied central library with the, all the accesses of databases as a budding researcher that you would be, taking help of. You have got it, and we have all these facilities for our students. And these are these, facilities for your entertainment, for your overall, personality development. We are also having one of the best hospital facilities for our students. Coming back to the admissions, this is the, the most important factor of the webinar, where most of the students I have come across the chats where they're asking for how to take admission, or what is the manner, or what is the coursework that would be required. For that, I would please be happy to take you to the website. Before you are going and looking for information, in the URL, I would suggest you to type to lpu.in, www.lpu.in, and click upon it. After that, you will get a interface like this. You can go ahead, put the qualification as post graduation, and then you can select the discipline. So for example, I am taking up management discipline. It's giving me the programs over here, whether I would like to go for a full-time program or whether I would like to go for a part-time program. So if I'm clicking upon the full-time program, all kinds of details which are required as a candidate who has to take admission in a program, I will get all these details over here, right? Right from the eligibility criteria to what are the highlights, to what is the fee structure, what are the scholarship details, and what are the important deals. So right now, for all the PhD candidates, irrespective of whichever discipline you are from, please understand that the latest schedule, the current schedule, right, the last date of registration is 6th of July, as you can see on the screen, and the last date of admission would be 10th of August. So please be very focused when you are applying for the PhD program here. In no ways we would want any kind of loss at your end. Apart from this, many of you were asking about what is the coursework. So I would suggest here that once you are on this particular website, go to the tab of admissions, and under this you will find the doctoral programs. You will find a complete list of all the part-time and full-time programs that lovely professional university is offering to you, right? And in this is what the major questions, the number of questions that were coming forward to us about the coursework option. So we are having a very flexi coursework option. There are 3 options right in front of your screen as well. In the first option, you are having classes on weekends. The number of the months which are involved is mentioned. You're having option 2, in which the coursework would be for 4 days every month, that is between September to December. And the last option is in which 15 days continuous coursework you can attend, and it would take place in the month of November to December, and so on, right? And for agriculture and for the other different courses, you are having a different coursework option. So please do follow it once you are registering for your the PhD program over here. And you can find all the list of programs like this in front of. Clear? One more thing, if you have happened to miss any webinar, right? Or if you want to know that what are the forthcoming webinars that LPU is scheduling, you can go on to admissions again, and on to your left hand side, you are having this tab where you can click LPU's Edu Fair webinars. Once you click upon it, it will take you to a page where actually it's telling you all the previous recordings, previous webinars, and also the forthcoming webinars. Depending upon whatever discipline that you've applied, you can go ahead and attend all these webinars. Fine. So thank you so much, everyone. Over to you, Ms. Ruby.
Thank you so much, Megha ma'am, for the detailed information about the admission part. So with this, we'll conclude our today's webinar. So I would like to express my appreciation to the experts for their valuable contribution to our webinar on the topic PhD at LPU, PhD programs at LPU. And my deepest gratitude goes to all who attended this webinar and helped to make it such a successful one. And experts, I'm sure your years of experience, your years of research will definitely help the audience to choose the right path. So I, Ruby Gill, finally sign off the session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.